Hi, I'm Thorn Bishop and welcome to Top Secret Inc. Today we'll be walking through Grimm Fairy Tales Presents Alice in Wonderland, Issue 5 by Zenescope Comics. So get comfortable, because it's going to be one hell of a ride. Issue 5 begins with Alice's grandparents standing in front of the old oak tree, and they're somewhat panicked because they're worried about Alice, even though they kind of forced her to go in the hole. Then we have a young Alice crawling out of the tree, explaining to her grandparents that she's feeling ill. They take her back home, and behind closed doors, they're arguing with each other because apparently that was supposed to be a one-way trip, like a sacrifice to the gods or something. Now, they have to contact Alice's parents because they need to find another way to get her back to Wonderland. And then we find out that Alice was sent to Wonderland to somehow save the world because nothing says loving grandparents like using your granddaughter as some kind of sacrificial offering. Then, the scene switches to a young Alice in her bedroom with confusion in her eyes. She hears voices of the Jabberwocky asking her for help, asking to be set free. She's not even aware of the evil inside of her. This is like having a supernatural parasite with a customer service complaint. Now we cut back to the big Alice in the palace with the Queen of Spades. The Queen is talking in riddles, and Alice is like, hey, just spit it out. Your English isn't making any sense to me. Alice tells her, don't expect me to trust you. Everyone turns their back to me in this place. The Queen of Spades responds, I despise both the Queen of Hearts and the Jabberwocky, and I guess we have some commonality. Both of them have massive armies. You are going to need a massive army to strike back with, and I know just how to get you one. Because the enemy of my enemy is my friend, even when all the parties are potentially psychotic. Here, we find out the history of Elizabeth Allen, who is the Queen of Hearts. We cut to a scene where she's forcing the king to slit his own wrists. We also find that this is kind of like a daily ritual here at the Kingdom of Hearts. The queen here, like Alice, found her way to Wonderland. She somehow defeated the Red Queen in physical combat and imprisoned her. The only means of freedom for the Red Queen is actually her son. Over decades of torment and mental abuse from the Queen of Hearts, the boy who is the true king has even forgotten about his mother. Who is she, and where she might even be kept? It's like the worst possible custody battle combined with Stockholm Syndrome. We jump to a scene where the Red Queen is locked up. Both Alice and the Queen of Spades are now there. The Queen happily starts decapitating the royal guards, and now the two queens face each other with Alice in awe, wondering because nothing breaks the ice like casual mass murder. Spades tries to convince the Red Queen that they're trying to help her to escape. The Red Queen doesn't want her help because she knows the Queen of Spades is evil and full of lies. Alice has a one-to-one with the Red Queen about her experiences, and Alice finds out that the Queen's power doesn't work behind this locked gate. The Red Queen doesn't tell her that her son has the key to open the locked cell because even in prison, you gotta maintain some operational security. The Red Queen reaches out to Alice's hand. When both hands meet, there's a flash of light and a tingling sensation. The Queen lets Alice know she's temporarily transferred all of her power to her until the next full moon. Alice now has the power to call forth an army to take over Wonderland. Talk about like a power upgrade. She's gone from a victim to potential conqueror in one handshake. The Queen of Spades now takes Alice to what appears to be a deserted graveyard. This is the birthplace of the Jabberwocky, the home of what once was the White Knight, a champion of Wonderland. The White Knight was originally murdered by the Jabberwocky here in this graveyard. She ends up finding like all these chess pieces. They both realize that the cards became soldiers for the Queen of Hearts, and now these chess pieces will become Alice's army. The power unleashes from Alice's hands, and thousands of chess pieces in gigantic sizes appear to do her bidding. It's like the world's most violent game night. Then the scene jumps back to the Queen of Hearts, where she's just murdering random guards because no one else can find Alice. At one point, she's threatening to murder the king again because Alice is missing, even though we know she's just going to have him slit his own wrists again later that day. The Queen of Hearts really has perfected the art of like redundant threats here. Suddenly, the Queen of Spades magically appears, and she tells the Queen of Hearts that she has Alice and she wants to make a trade. Then the Queen of Spades visits the Jabberwocky, the Mad Hatter, and the Cheshire Cat separately, telling them the exact same thing. Let's make a deal, because nothing says master manipulator like running the same con on multiple marks simultaneously. The Queen of Spades returns to Alice, who is now wearing a baby blue armor and carrying a fancy sword, and she asks the Queen of Spades if they all took the bait. Of course they did. I hope you enjoyed the walkthrough today, but here's the thing. You need to get your hands on the actual book. Hit up your local comic shop or grab it from an online vendor. Support these comic book companies, because they're the real people busting their asses writing these insane stories. Even though you're hearing about it from me, when you actually read it yourself, I guarantee you'll have a completely different perspective on the whole thing. Trust me, it hits different on paper.